Do you know exactly what you need? You need to be able to read the newspaper with one hand, the Bible in the other, and understand how to discern what you're reading and hearing in the news. We are under a blitzkrieg of distorted information, a veritable blizzard of manipulated sound bites. The only way that you can possibly navigate is to have a spirit of discerning. We're going to get into covering the news with a prophetic perspective from the Word of God today so that you could splice that thing and really see what's going on. Do you know, speaking about seeing what's going on, I've had a shocking experience recently. Somehow in the last year, I saw myself in the mirror and I noticed the statistic that says that as you get older, as much as 8% of your muscle mass deteriorates year over year over year. That means you could lose 15, 20% of your physique. Could be just deteriorating from you doing nothing. And so I reached out to Dr. Jordan Rubin and my friends at Ancient Nutrition. I said, Doc, I've got to put the body back. It's beginning to shrink on me. He said, yeah, Lance. He said, you realize that you have muscle mass lost after 40, as much as, 8% of your mass declines, only it's every decade is when it goes. Well, it's like 16 to 24% shrinkage. Well, here's what I found out. That if it was possible to get a certain kind of a protein and work out, then you could see that muscle mass grow back again. And here's what he put together. 23 grams of clean protein from grass-fed whey protein with regenerative, and he told me A2, non-fat. I said, what's A2? Do you know that the hormones and the stuff that they inject, the carcinogens and I don't trust what they're doing in America to the food supply. They're putting stuff in the cows here that causes the milk to come out different than in Europe. In Africa and in Europe, the A2/A2 milk, non-fat milk protein concentrate from cows don't have the antibiotics in them, and they produce a different result. I want you to get a hold of this powerful whey protein, vanilla or chocolate, 23 grams of protein in every serving, raised without hormones, has the branched chain amino acids in it. I'm doing these every day. I do a shake every day because I need it in order to, frankly, to rebuild my body and to be able to contain, to not put on the fat. By the way, he told me there's eggshell membrane in this because it has the collagen in it that reduces joint discomfort. Eggshell membrane. These guys come up with stuff. I want you to go to ancientnutrition.com/Lance and use the code WHEY. WHEY. This is the way you need to rebuild your muscle and get healthy, and do it with a delicious smoothie every day. That's what I'm doing, and it's working. You buy bottles, 3 bottles of these, you get 20% off. It's ancientnutrition.com/Lance. Use code WHEY. Let's get into today's news. I've got Mercedes Sparks sitting here next to me. Well, another part of the set. You'll notice the stripes behind her because if you pull back on the camera, you'll see it's that patriotic election time when America goes to the polls. And boy, every election, it seems somebody said, this is the most important one. Well, I'm telling you something, baby. This one is for all the marbles. And it's a weird thing, isn't it, to know that less than, 2 months, 60 days, 65 days, 70 days, the United States could be putting an entire Marxist alignment, communist alignment, the destruction of America. You know what our biggest problem in America is? I'm just gonna have to tell you what it is right now. Ignorance. The Apostle Paul says over and over again, be not ignorant, be not ignorant. It's a general ignorance. You know what? If America can't steward the blessing and the prosperity and the power and the influence that God gave it, let me tell you what happens in nature, the way God designed things. That to him who has shall more be given, but to him who has not, even what he seems to have shall be taken away. Is America going to have a change? Oh, I know a whole bunch of you that listen to me. Yeah, you know, it's funny, Mercedes. I've got people that actually listen to me that don't like me, and they just listen to me in order to talk to me about what they don't like about me.
That's who would that be? I'm just like,
well, other than you. But I mean, it's the strangest. It's primarily on Twitter. You guys ought to all join me on X. On the old, we still call it Twitter because X was a branding mistake, I think. Because we used, you know, what are you going to say? Hey, I X'd today. No, but I tweeted today. Or anyway, but I just read the most. I get so much hate mail over there. It's really great because it reminds me of just how crazy America is. And
well, really, I just think mind control too. Like, I mean, it is delusional, the stuff that people post. I you know, like you jump in the comments and people are like, why are you talking? Oh yeah, you think he's really Christian. You think Trump's a Christian. You're so stupid. You're so ignorant. It's like you coined it, Lance. It's Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, it is deranged. But here's a Bible verse. Since I realize we have many Christians here, and some of these shows air on different days, and one of them, particularly on Real America's Voice, is on Sunday. So let me just give you this fascinating little verse to me here. It says, Paul's writing to the Galatians. These are the Christians, first century church in Galatia. And he says, he's talking about walking in the Spirit, walking under the influence of the Holy Spirit compared to walking under the influence of the devil. And he says that, I say to you, chapter 5, here, verse 16, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desires of the flesh, flesh being your lower nature, your earthly nature. For the flesh sets his desire against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are in opposition to one another, so that you may not do the things that you please. But if you're led by the Spirit, you won't be under the law. These are very profound ideas. It requires a little bit of understanding of this to appreciate what Paul's talking about. But he says, look, there are certain deeds that come out of people that are dominated by their fallen nature, meaning they think selfishly and they're wired to only those things that have to pertain to the way they see the world. They haven't, in a sense, submitted their ego to a higher purpose than their own agenda. And he says, here's the manifestation of those characteristics. And he says, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissensions, factions, divisions, envying. That's a cluster right there. Stop right there, because that's the political spirit. But what's at the lead of it is idolatry and sorcery, or translated idolatry and witchcraft. How could idolatry be existing in the sophisticated 21st century world where all these Ivy League, leaders come out and, these are the people that actually are at the top of the institutions that you see in here that shape global policy. These are the ones that are controlling the world. Well, interesting thing about them is an idol in the Bible is a demon that has a physical object that allows you to connect to it. And I would say that if you have an idol or a demon that has to do with, let's say, greed, then your car, your house, your wardrobe, your look is in a sense part of the devotion, the deity that you worship. And it empowers a spirit behind it. It's a bit abstract, but I'm telling you something. I remember Lester Summerall, one of my mentors, talked about going into Hindu temples. And he would see them putting like little food, at the opening of one of these little idol boxes. And then he would notice that the food would be eaten by a spirit. There'd be almost like saliva left behind. He started noticing some weird stuff and realized that the ancient idols weren't really statues that the pagans worship. It was the demons behind the statue. The statue was a point of contact. Well, I want you to think about this. You can make an idol out of a person, idolatry, a rock idol. And all idolatry is condemned in the Bible because there's only one that should be worshiped. Hear, O Israel, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God. Anything you exalt above God, therefore, including your career, has the power to become an idolatrous object in your life, which leads right into witchcraft, sorcery, enmity. What is witchcraft? What is sorcery? And this is listed as works of the flesh, which means I'm not talking about the spirit part, I'm talking about the human part. Sorcery and witchcraft is the manipulation that goes on through human agency, trying to psychologically get you to do something. And I would say something. America went through such trauma with COVID and the BLM riots and the race riots and the pulling down of statues in Washington and around the country with young people pulling down those statues. Do you remember where we were in that period of time of chaos in America? Now, with the hindsight, we should step back and look at what was really going on. It was a Marxist revolution. It was playing on fear and playing on trauma and creating confusion and manipulating, intimidating, and controlling the minds of people. What we're talking about, Mercedes said earlier, it's a form of mind control. And that's what politics has become to a great extent. I'm going to say on the left more than on the right. The reason I say that is because the Republican Party, when you look at J.D. Vance or Trump, and I can say this objectively, you'll say I'm not, but I'm telling you I am. They're at least talking about ideas, about economics, about NATO, about walls, about immigration, about who's getting in the country. And you listen to the left, the entire Democratic National Convention, from Michelle to Barack especially, it was like they had Biden, they trotted him out like around midnight and everybody went to bed. Next night, prime time. It was Obama night. And there you have their whole message was spellbindingly well delivered, but saying nothing about policy, but 80-some negative references to race and to Trump. And see, to me, that's manipulation. That's the deep wheels of manipulation or sorcery over the minds of people. Not talking about America in terms of its real issues and needs, but trying to drum up this fictitious idea of going back to the tyranny of the past or going towards the hope of the future with a charismatic smile attached. And so people are, in their ignorance, becoming more and more seduced by sound bites. So, Mercedes, if you look at what's happening in the school system, which is like, I don't even know how that thing went this week.
It's interesting. You know, they had a public hearing about the new Texas curriculum. And so we put a big call out. I think I saw Gene, from Flashpoint, he sent a big email out. Basically, there's a brand new curriculum that has been written. And it's, it's amazing. It has things like pro-capitalism, pro-economy. Not only that, but like Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. Just books, just basic life principles that's not secular humanism, but it's hopeful and moral based. And so, this whole curriculum's been written. And so I didn't know about it until somebody told us the other day, and they were like, hey, you've got to get the word out, you guys, because it has this public hearing, and they've heard from like 1,000 people, 1,000 leftists, woke activists, that this curriculum can't go into Texas. And so we tried to really help get the word out. And I know a lot of other people did too. And so people were sending emails to the Texas school board and saying, hey, no, we need this curriculum now more than ever. So I don't know how it turned out. We could do some research on it. Maybe I'll find it on the break.
And it's so typical of our people. Mm-hmm. People don't want the California curriculum. It used to be California set the curriculum for the nation. I mean, it's such a influential state. It's like the 7th world global economy because of Silicon Valley, not because they manage the state right. They're flushing it down the debt toilet. But it still is a large economy because of Silicon Valley and Hollywood, the entertainment industry. But the curriculum used to come from California, but it's gone so woke that the states default to Texas, which is such a large state and a big state for curriculum and for teaching, right? So they put this curriculum out, which is going to be probably an answer to prayer. 57 million kids in school are going to be taught this. Talk about discipling a generation. And only 200 positive letters or emails went out supporting it, and the same day that 2,000 F-bomb dropping, God-hating, rabid leftists attacked the curriculum. And so when we were told that there was 2,000 to 200, we just went to our friends and said, my gosh, did you know this? But let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard. We'll give you an update as to how it's going. I'm hoping that curriculum works. You know why? Because if it gets passed into Texas, then other states will grab the curriculum from Texas. But what shocked me the most was in the Twitter sphere, the number of hostile, bizarre, Christ-hating individuals that do not want moral absolutes or anything from Jesus getting into the education system. Mm-hmm. They don't care about LGBTQ values. They don't care about the pride flag. They don't care about racism or Marxism, but they have an absolute Tourette's response when it comes to the Bible. And I think that's an interesting commentary on where America's at and how America moves forward. It's a spiritual battle, and we're going to wrap it up right now and come back in the next segment and talk about the Spirit discerning it in the cycle of the news right now. You know, there are stories in the Bible that are actually so amazing. Imagine if God gave you a dream and he said to you, ask me anything that you wish and I'll give it to you. Well, that actually happened. Solomon asked for wisdom and God gave him wisdom. Suppose God was to ask you if you wanted the ability to open up heaven with your prayer life so that you could come up into this very presence and see his plan and his purpose and his detailed blueprint for what you're called to do. And then suppose God added to that and said, and I'm going to give you the power over every demon and earthly circumstance that gets in your way when you want to administrate that vision. I'm going to give you kingly power and priestly access to the throne of God at the same time. That's the end time move of God, folks. It's called the Melchizedek Spirit. Jesus comes to us, the Bible says, in a new order. It's called the Order of Melchizedek. We've seldom seen it manifest in the church, but it's showing up now, where God is giving to his people the royal priesthood authorization to be able to see what heaven wants to do, pray prevailing prayers, and administrate that prayer right over the works of hell. We're seeing amazing answers to prayer. We're seeing new testimonies happen every day. I want you to get this special teaching. LanceWallnau.com/Mel. That's short for Melchizedek. LanceWallnau.com/Mel. You don't want to miss it. This is fresh revelation, hot off the press. Welcome back to the Lance Wallnau Show. Have you seen image 19? Go put it up there on the screen for me. Image 19. Fast, Mr. Producer. There you go. This is so annoying. I'm just giving you my annoyance today. Mayra Photography, Le Papillon Blue 2. Classic Democrat leftist. Takes a picture of Trump, doctors it up with what is a make-believe combination of the shot to his head with a bullet, with the ear, and the blood going down his cheek. And it says, Trump's assassination attempt was just an election stunt. Think they bought it? Do you know how many people are looking at artificial, manipulated images like this, which is a combination of, it's like AI. Take the Trump shooting picture from Butler. Now put a smile on his face. Now put it out as though it's real. That's a lie. That's witchcraft. That's a manipulation. And worse yet, Myra Photography, La Papillon Blue 2. This girl is pushing the agenda. I mean, I'm talking like 100,000 people listen to this chick. She's saying, how many of you think people are buying Trump's? So I asked him, I go, how about the guy, the firefighter that got shot and killed? And how about the other people that were shot? You know what their crazy, deranged response is? The extent to which Donald Trump will go to get a publicity stunt. He'll actually have people killed. Yeah, well, how about that? Have a bullet whiz by your ear. I'd say it's a pretty courageous stunt. I want to see some other politician do that. I'm going to hold still, put an apple on my head, shoot it off as a publicity stunt. So, but what's amazing is you read the comments. 100 or 200 people. This is what worries me. There are people in America on the left. They worry about the right. I'm not worried about the right. I'm worried about these people because they actually believe Donald Trump set up his own assassination for ratings. How's that? Okay, what do we got here? Oh, the RFK. I haven't read this comment on Image 14. I got to check it out. Laura Logan. I see she's cussing here. Well, I told him to go take some of my tweets.
Oh.
But Laura Logan says it's come to my attention from various sources that election-wise we're up the creek without a paddle. In other words, in the words of a former Intel professional, America's elections are no longer about hearts and minds or even votes. They are a kinetic battle for ballot counting and cybersecurity in compromised software. Anyone participating in a mere ideological election is on the losing side already. The 2020 election revealed various pre-planned attack vectors. In Pennsylvania, we caught the unlawful insertion of 30,000 Biden ballots on a thumb drive. We caught it on video, and Biden won that county by 121% voter turnout. More voters than existed. An obvious impossibility. We now know Georgia had double counting and phony ballots at 4 a.m. on election night. The SQL software allowed the theft of 20,000 votes for Trump to be taken and swapped to Biden without a user login record, just as it was designed. Now, my point is this. Laura Logan is a real journalist, gutsy woman, stronger than, I'd say, almost all the men in journalism. She's not writing this in the same kind of delusional, fantasy as the other lady there with the doctored up make-believe Trump face. This is a real journalist. And what she's saying is, unless these holes, like massive registration fraud in Texas with illegals, are plugged, the media has already started drafting Harris's victory speech. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed how many people have dismissed the election fraud claims? I'm talking about the spirit of ignorance in America. Dismissed. And you and I kind of go, well, how about Dinesh D'Souza's 2,000 meals? I mean, we literally have to sit through an hour and a half of video evidence of people with piles of votes stuffing them in at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning in states where you're only supposed to have one vote at a time. And you know what? You think that, you remember Maricopa County? I thought that after all the heat and all, remember day after day on Real America's Voice, they had Bannon there showing us everybody counting through the glass, 1,000 people counting the ballots. I thought maybe something was going to happen. Maricopa, we go back with Carrie Lake's election, and they repeat the same thing again. They don't care. They're just going to pull it off a little differently. Oh, the paper doesn't fit inside of these. In the conservative areas, the paper doesn't. It's the wrong paper. Go over there and stand in line. It's only 98 degrees. Go an hour out of stand for 2 hours out there, old 75-year-old lady, and put your vote in down this street or around in another county. My point is this. They did it in Maricopa. Mm-hmm. What's the good news in this? Mercedes, tell them the good news.
I think the good news is Lance is thinking about writing a new book. And what I wanted to say is, Lance, I know we only have a handful of minutes left, but I think you should give us your prophetic predictions of what are the two paths forward, because I agree with you. And we called him Basement Biden. He never made an appearance at all before the election. And he won most popular president in history. For those on the podcast, I'm doing air quotes to indicate my sarcasm. But Lance, what do you think? I mean, this is not necessarily the prophetic word everybody wants to hear, but what do you think?
What I'm saying is they're picking on Trump and saying Trump, like the pollster Lutz right now is saying it's Trump's, they're tied neck and neck. Him and Harris right now are tied neck and neck. And he's got to stop talking about how this election is going to get stolen. Trump is oddly prophetic, folks. He really is. I mean, he hasn't been that off. All of his enemies hate him because of his narcissism and his bravado. But and they call him a liar, but actually, he's been very accurate in what he said. And he's fixated in the fact that we've got to show up so big that they can't rig this next one because they're trying to. Now, here's the good news. The good news is in various states, we have, because of this pounding on the table like I'm doing now, it raises up the threshold of frustration and engagement so that people are doing something. In Detroit. And we just did the Courage Tour in Michigan. And we got another one coming up, by the way, in Butler, Pennsylvania, where they tried to shoot, where the assassination attempt happened 16 miles from there. Bam! We're going to be there for the Courage Tour. What are the dates for that? We want to make sure you all sign up for it.
Yeah, September 27th, the evening, and all day on September 28th. It's at the Monroeville Convention Center. Make sure you register your seat because we only have so many seats. So go over there. TheCourageTour.com is free, but register.
And we're going to have great speakers there. We're getting our list together right now because we just agreed to do this event. But I mean, we'll have Lou Engle there on Friday night. We've got powerful people. But among them, I mean, one of the things that happened is, do you know that in Detroit, where I was going a minute ago, there right now that the Democrats were caught not allowing Republicans to get enlisted as poll watchers and giving the seat, instead of having a 50-50, 1,300 positions were given to Democrats and 300 were given to Republicans.
Wow.
So obviously the whistle's got to get blown. The America First Policy Institute has lawyers on speed dial. They have a budget for it. They need to jump on these ones, and we need to rattle the pots and pans. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Attorney General Paxton, regarding election integrity unit, yields 65 cell phones and 41 computers at Democrat Manuel Medina's home in Brexar County. Ken Paxton recently executed multiple search warrants across Frio, Atascosa, and Bexar counties in Texas. This action is part of an ongoing investigation into allegations of election fraud and vote harvesting stemming from activities during the 2022 elections. The investigation was initiated following a referral from a judge, district attorney, Audrey Lewis, which provided enough evidence after a 2-year probe to justify 3 search warrants. What they found is 65 cell phones and 41 computers with digital and storage devices in one person's home that was suspect of actually vote harvesting and manipulation. So 41 computers and storage devices illegally in the possession. These people are serious, but thank God. You keep praying, and you're going to see how the people like Attorney General Paxton are actually doing the job that needs to be done, exposing the corruption that is out there. Do you know that RFK Jr., got 52 seconds to cover this. RFK Jr. said, I'm going to throw my support behind Donald Trump. I'm going to join hands with him. Kim Clement prophesied, for those of you that have been following that story, in 2009 in Chicago, that a Kennedy was going to join hands with the Republicans and that God was in the midst of doing a move in America. Well, RFK said, I'm going to stay on the ballot in all the states except the swing states. Take my name off the ballot. I withdraw my running in those close states because I don't want to take votes away from Trump. Well, Michigan and Wisconsin said, we're keeping you on the ballot, baby. Why? Because Michigan and Wisconsin, the same states that would try to take Trump's name off, will keep Kennedy's on because they want to manipulate the results of the election. I hope this bothers you as much as it bothers me, and I pray that all of Kennedy's supporters see, when they see his name in Michigan and Wisconsin, don't give the Democrats the joy of getting a Kennedy vote to either Kennedy or Harris. Recognize that Kennedy sees the corruption of his own party. And that's a huge development. We'll be right back in a minute. I want to take a moment to talk about the volatile financial time that we're in. And I want you to empower yourself with knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge, the Bible says. Visit lancewallnau.com/Birch and get a free information kit. Consider discussing how to shift your 401k or your retirement account into a tax-sheltered gold and silver account. Why don't you go to lancewallnau.com/Birch right now and take action for a secure future. So what spiritual forces do you see at work here? If I was doing a force field analysis on my little whiteboard over there, I would draw, what are the main characteristics you're seeing? The media itself is a is a power player in the manipulation of information, mocking the question of election integrity. I looked up, Mercedes, this week on Google. I said, what are the 10 most corrupt counties in the United States in terms of election complaints? And Google gave me the reply, the 10 most corrupt countries. And I re-entered. I said counties, not countries. It gave me countries, not counties.
Wow.
Then I said, no, I want the 10 most corrupt. Where is the election fraud the most conspicuous in the United States? It sent me to 10 articles debunking the theory that elections are stolen in the United States. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's mind control. That's witchcraft. That's when AI, which Mercedes does a closer job of than me, when you start asking questions to Meta or to ChatGPT, and it gives you the woke analysis because it's scrubbing that data because its own parameters are being set by a woke search engine. What spirit are you dealing with? I opened the broadcast saying the works of the flesh, idolatry and witchcraft. You would think that those would be not carnal, natural, earthly things, spiritual things, spooky things, but they're human things because humans want to manipulate, they want to dominate, they want to control. And America, its genius and its gift is that I've got the freedom of speech right now to say my ideas. My ideas may be nutty, but then refute them. Tell me where they're nutty. And maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll sharpen my thinking and correct my thinking. And it happens through free discourse. But they're suppressing discourse. My last article I'm going to cover right now, and then we're done for the day, is Zuckerberg's letter to Honorable Jim Jordan, chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary, exposing how Biden and Harris, Kamala Harris, pressured Facebook to censor you so that your opinion regarding COVID, your opinion regarding the laptop, your opinion regarding January 6th, your opinion regarding everything that the devil was doing would be suppressed, or you'd be, and we've all experienced it. We've experienced it because the political apparatus wants to control all media. Zuckerberg admits Facebook wrong to suppress Hunter laptop story, scolds the White House. The FBI pressured Zuckerberg and Twitter to shut down anyone who felt that the laptop of Hunter Biden was anything but Russian disinformation. The FBI lied to Americans and interfered with the election. People say, I don't believe it's election interference. What do you think it is when the FBI suppresses a story and only one newspaper can print it? And then Trump is stripped off of Facebook, stripped off of Twitter, then hit with 700 years of prison sentences and bankruptcy. Folks, you can't just shrug your shoulders, which is why I think it's so idiotic, so nonsensical. When I read moronic journalists, Christian writers on the Christian, Christian Posts, and they put these articles out about how they can't vote for Trump. They hold their nose when they think about Trump. Fools! They have no idea what they're dealing with. Principalities and powers want to take America down, and a remnant stands against it. Why am I reading the Bible and talking about this? Because I'm convinced that it's only God and a remnant that's going to turn this battle around. And it's you. I'm talking to you. And, since the left is all about joy and hope and joy and hope, I don't know, based on magic mushrooms, or I'd be joyful and hopeful too if I had, if I had the slush fund they've got and the money they've got and the privilege and power the elites have. It's an artificial joy, though, my friend, that isn't a deep and abiding joy. The real joy comes from knowing that you're doing what God called you to do. And right now, God's calling you to fight. He's calling you to take a stand. He's calling you to raise your voice. Now, what can you do about election integrity? I'll tell you what you can do about election integrity. Who's the guy that we have on our tour all the time?
Bill Federer?
No, the guy that has...
Dr. Rich Rogers?
Dr. Rich Rogers. But who's
Joshua Caleb?
Joshua, that guy, Joshua Caleb.
Yes.
We're going to close with this. What is his site?
Lion of Judah.
Lion of Judah.
I'll look it up. Let me look it up because there's a lot of Lions of Judah out there, right? So let me find it.
All right, but anyway, he's got a course where you could get election trained to be, and actually you could qualify to be paid. I know many of you would do it for the love of God and the love of America, but some of you could also do it and get paid to do it. And I want you to know how to do that. So we'll put that up there in the lower third, and if you can.
Okay, I got it. It's theloj.org. So it's the Lion of Judah, theloj.org. Thanks, Will.
LOJ.org. The LOJ.org?
.org, yeah. Whew.
He's
Didn't
been
know
on
I
the
was gonna
tour.
get that.
We got like so many of these people working with us.
I know.
But that's the one that comes to my mind now. You don't have to sit down and just worry and pray and hope. You can actually for one day, go out and be a spy on the enemy's camp and get paid to do it. All right, this is Lance Wallnau and Mercedes Sparks signing off, letting you know that as the Lord said to Gideon, you may be a little bit excitable like me, but remember this, the Lord said to Gideon, go in this thy might. It was the might of Gideon's exasperation with the status quo. He said, why is it if God is for us that our enemies are able to pull this off? The Lord said, I like that kind of attitude there, Gideon. You may not be the majority, but I'm going to be with you, and you're going to put the Midians to flight. I pray to God the Midians are put to flight in America, because America's worth fighting for. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate